This show is part of the RetroZap.com podcast network.
And welcome everybody to episode 58 of the Animanicast.
Listen, the winds of change blow steady, my friend, waiting for one thing. Do you know what that thing is?
Someone with a kite?
And welcome once again to the Animanicast. We are the only podcast that's dedicated to the animated series, Animaniacs. Here we explore the series episode by episode, revisiting all the cultural references and gags that we can find. And in the end, we give each episode a water tower rating. I am Joey, and joining me are my co-hosts, my brother Nathan.
Just boo it.
And across the country in Georgia, it's Kelly.
Hi there.
Hello. Well, everyone, today we are, we have an interesting episode to discuss. It's a kind of a political episode with some various filler elements, I guess you could say, right? Mm-hmm. Well, what would you think? If you were to summarize this episode in just a few words, what would you say? Kelly?
Wow.
That's very good words. Okay.
Come back to me.
Okay, well, Nathan, what would you, if you were to put this into just a few words, Nathan, this episode, what would you say?
Well, it doesn't completely stink.
It doesn't completely stink.
Just half of it.
Yeah, I was trying to come up with something clever to say, and I just, I was trying to say something about politics and smelly, but that almost lends itself too well to a joke.
Yeah, exactly. Well, anyway. Well, before we get into our discussion and everything, tell us, Nathan, when did episode 58 of Animaniacs first premiere?
All right, so it's been a week. It's now Monday, February 28th of 1994, and NATO has just taken its first ever military action in its 45-year history. Four Siberian warplanes were shot down during a bombing mission, violating Bosnia's no-fly zone. And in other news, Walvis Bay is officially handed over to Namibia by South America.
Well, I don't remember that second part, but I definitely remember the Bosnian conflict when I was a kid. Yeah, I remember that. Kelly, do you remember that, right? I'm assuming with all that, right?
No.
They made a movie about it with Owen Wilson, I think it was. Is he the blonde one with the crooked nose? Is that Owen Wilson or Luke Wilson?
Yeah, what movie was
it? Behind Enemy Lines, I think it was called, where he got shot down. And Gene Hackman's the sergeant, I think. Yeah, that was about the Bosnian conflict. I don't know. I'm revisiting. I'm revisiting all these things from the 90s. CNN right now has this really cool series called, I think it's just called The 90s. And you can revisit all of these things of the political climate and a lot of the pop cultural things as well with their series. So, yeah, there you go.
That's all I paid attention to in the 90s was pop culture. I was too busy playing Star Wars trivia online.
Well, see, we had Channel 1.
Priorities.
We had Channel 1 at my school, so we got to, learn a little bit about what was going on in the news beforehand. And, of course, in the early 90s, it was Anderson Cooper who was on Channel 1. And, when he was first starting off in his 20s. So there you go. Young Anderson Cooper I'd see him every morning at my middle school. So anyway. Well, today's episode, before we get to our two major segments, we have some filler to get to, but it's pretty decent filler. At least I think so. The first one's called Oh Ethel. This is basically a Slappy Squirrel. It's a commercial for a Broadway production must be a one-woman production of Slappy Squirrel's salute to Ethel Merman. And, of course, she thinks it's for Ethel Mertz, who is, it was Lucy and Ethel, basically, and I forget who played Ethel Mertz. But, yeah, I Love Lucy. It was Ethel Mertz is Lucy's best friend on the show.
For crying out loud. All right, here goes. There's a great business, this here show business. So let's get on with the little skit already.
You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll throw farm fresh produce at Slappy Squirrel in Ethel.
She sings sort of a no business like show business song, sort of. The version that the Animaniacs would not have to pay, royalties for. So something that resembles that song, and then gets fresh farm produce thrown at her. And of course, this is promoted as like the reason, I suppose, that you are supposed to go to the show. Is come to the show to throw the fresh farm produce at Slappy Squirrel. It was a somewhat cute thing right there. It's just, hey, it's Slappy Squirrel doing her thing. Do either one of you have any memories of Ethel Merman? Because I know she's been in a few things that at least Kelly, I know, would be familiar with. Kelly, any idea what I'm talking about?
It must have something to do with Muppets.
Exactly. She was in the Muppet Show.
There's no business like show business, like no business I know. Everything about it is appealing.
Everything the traffic will allow.
Nowhere could you get that happy feeling when you are stealing that extra bow.
And I also remember her in the movie Top Secret. She has a quick cameo in that. I don't know if you've ever seen Top Secret, Kelly. It's by the people who did the movie Airplane. And it was their follow up with Val Kilmer. In my opinion, it's right at the same level of hilarity as Airplane. In some ways, it's even better because it's just even more abstract and weird. But at one point, they're in a hospital, and they say, I think it's I want to say it might, quite frankly, it might be an Airplane. But I think it's in Top Secret. Anyway, it's in one of those Coen Brothers films. Not Coen Brothers films, Zucker Brothers films. It's one of those. It's one of those films with brothers.
I'm getting confused.
We should just start the podcast over.
Let's start over. Okay, and welcome everybody to episode. No, okay.
What's his problem?
It's Lieutenant Hurwitz. Severe shell shock. Thinks he's Ethel Merman.
You'll be swell. You'll be great. Gonna have the whole world on a plate. Starting here, starting now. Honey, everything's coming up right.
War is hell.
And it's, of course, Ethel Merman.
It's
an airplane. I thought it was in Top Secret. Okay.
Nope.
Yeah, I think you're right. It is in Top Secret.
It's in Top Secret.
It's in Airplane. Duh.
Yes.
No. There you go.
I always think of Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid and Steve Martin saying, "You want to go see Ethel Merman with me?" That's it.
That's about it. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Ethel Merman is just it's a quite frankly it's a fun name to just say, and she was just I don't know. She's just in a bunch of classic musicals and stuff like that. Anyway, so let's go on to the next little filler thing, and it's Yakko basically looking at what are those called? Rorschach tests.
Mm-hmm.
Yakko, it's time to take the ink blot test. Now, tell me, what does this remind you of?
Girls.
What does this remind you of?
Girls.
What does this remind you of?
Girls.
You are obsessed with girls!
Hey, you're the one showing me all the sexy pictures.
Oh.
Kind of an old joke right there.
I'm surprised that one got by the censors.
Right?
Yeah, just the word that he's saying, sexy pictures, just, you think they could have they would have been told to, reword that joke. You're showing me all the pictures of all the girls, but I don't know. Usually I heard that joke and it's like, it's a little more provocative. Like the person says, instead of girls, it's, he says, various
female anatomy
and stuff. Yeah, it's like there's usually it's a little bit more extreme, but in this case it's just girls. So, it's an old joke. Well, before we go on to the main segments, guys, what do you think of these two little filler things?
I thought Yakko should have said "girls" at the very end, as you know what this last one reminds me of? Girls, and then just shows it as the next cartoon.
Yeah, so none of them are cartoons. That would have been funny. Kelly, any thoughts on these first two parts?
No, I just didn't find them incredibly funny. And they used the I see the next cartoon before. Mm-hmm. So I saw that coming. That was kind of predictable, but I mean, I thought it was a cool transition.
Yeah, it was something. They needed a few seconds and they got it. So, well, let's move on to the first main segment, and that is Meet John Brain.
This is Maurice LaMarche, the voice of the brain, and you are listening to the Animanicast.
Meet John Brain was written by Peter Hastings, and it was directed by Greg Reyna and Kirk Tingblad. And Kelly, tell us what happens in Meet John Brain.
Brain decides that he wants to run for president. So he takes on the name of John Brain and gets Pinky to be his running mate. And also Pinky is his wife, Pinkinia.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
So Pinky's got these dual roles where he's trying to help Brain out. And there are a lot of celebrity parodies in the episode. There's Larry King, or his facsimile, and Suzanne Summers, Barbara Walters. I'm trying to remember who else. And it just, there's a lot of political jokes, and so Brain, we'll keep asking him, why do you want to be president, or what's your campaign? And he's like, I want to take over the world. And they laugh at him because they don't believe him. And he's being, like Brain, dead serious. And he's doing all these interviews and media appearances and everything. And people, the interesting thing about it, and I think this is applicable no matter where you fall politically, is he would say something and people in support of him would turn it around to where it would be like he was saying something that they believed in and agreed in. Like they would put their own
spin.
Yeah, they put their own spin on what he was saying so that it would be palatable for them. And I think a lot of people tend to do that. They just kind of hear what they want to hear, and that's all across the political spectrum. People go with certain parties without really listening to the issues and things like that. And I think that it actually made a really good and relevant point in the cartoon.
I've been developing my plan for the presidency.
Uh-huh. And what is it, sir?
I want to A, cut the deficit, B, lower taxes, and C, take over the world.
I like him.
Mr. Brain, you seem to have very large ears, a red nose, and fur growing on your head. There are concerns about your health.
I am as healthy as the next mouse, as long as I avoid cats.
Now, what do you suppose he means by that?
Well, he doesn't mean a real mouse. He means the little guy like you and me. And cats, well, he means fat cats. The bureaucratic fat cats, yeah.
Oh, I like him.
Me too.
Yeah, the satirical point right there was right on par, I think. Because, back in I think this is really pointing out Ross Perot's campaign, because he's the Brain is running as an independent candidate, and Ross Perot was an independent candidate candidate at the time. So I'm not, and he did a lot of these television spots continuously. That's how kind of Ross Perot did his thing. He would buy a full half hour on CBS or something, and just like people watch me, and they even did like the whole flow chart thing, like what Ross Perot would bring. He was known for holding up like slides, basically like, paper slides, and just kind of point to them all the time. So
we learned a lot from the first program from your comments. First, you wanted better charts that you could see the fine print on, and you'll have those tonight. Secondly, we had one news announcer criticize the pointer that I used before. So, since we're dealing with voodoo economics, a great young lady from Louisiana sent me this voodoo stick, and I will use it as my pointer tonight. And certainly it's appropriate because, as you and I know, we are in deep voodoo. Well, let's get right to work.
Yeah, this is, it was very reminiscent to the last 2016 election, wasn't it?
Yeah, where it can be very divisive, and people have very strong opinions, and it can break families apart, because my dad and I still have tension.
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh yeah, or our uncles. Nathan will vouch for this. We have two uncles that are totally on the opposite side of the political spectrum, and there's been a few family get-togethers where we were like, okay, well, Thanksgiving's almost ruined right now, so.
Yep.
Yeah, I unfriended a great aunt on Facebook.
Oh.
Not even that because she had different opinions. It's just she's just very hateful and negative and just spews like vitriol all the time. And I'm like, I can't hear that. I don't need that toxicity in my life.
Yeah. That being said, I mean, my mom and her best friend are totally on the opposite side of the spectrum politically, and they just don't talk about politics. I think that's basically what they had decided to just do. They're just friends, and they just say, let's not talk about that, so they can continue to be friends.
There's ways to make it work.
Yes, there is.
But you just have to have an open mind and, just be accepting of other people's opinions and be respectful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. Just a few other quick connections here to the Ross Perot thing. There, he comes out as Admiral Pinky at one point, his vice president.
Mr. Brain, have you chosen a running mate to be your vice president?
Yes, I have. Admiral Pinky.
No! What am I doing here?
And then, of course, later he poses as his wife as well, like you mentioned.
Are you married?
Yes. Let me introduce my lovely wife, Pinkinia.
Hello, Barbara. Zod, I am woman. Hear me roar. No.
The Admiral Pinky is a reference to Admiral Stockdale, who was Ross Perot's vice presidential candidate. And he was seen a lot in general by the media as kind of a goofy guy. I don't remember much of him at the time, other than people just kind of made fun of him as being kind of like a forgetful kind of person. And Pinky, boy, oh boy, in this episode, did he look just zoned out, didn't he? I mean, he's just like staring at the camera and just totally out of it.
Like he'd been drugged into submission?
Perhaps. I don't know.
No.
Well, and it was just weird that he didn't know what the plan was at the beginning of the cartoon when they're making the sign that says "Brain for President." Like they're like 99% done with the sign. He's like, "Whoa! So what's the plan for this?" Yeah,
as if the plan ever even changes anyway.
Exactly.
Right.
The same thing we do every night, Pinky.
This is the most direct plan there is, I think, of any of his take over the world plans, I think, though, because when you really think about it, if you want to take over the world, well, you just run for the most powerful person in the world, right? I mean, that would be the idea. And
that would be at least a first step towards it.
Exactly. Yeah. So this one actually just makes, reasonable sense. If you were a real life dictator, then perhaps this would be something that you would like to try to do. We mentioned Larry King or Larry Kling as he was in here, and Suzanne Slimmers, who's Suzanne Summers, doing her, instead of the Thigh Master, it's the Thigh Monster in this one. And boy, oh boy, they showed those Thigh Master commercials all the time in the 90s.
Great legs.
Thank you.
How do you get them?
I used to do aerobics till I dropped. Then I found Thigh Master. Every single time you squeeze Thigh Master, you strengthen and tone right where you need it. So it's easy to squeeze your way to shapely hips and thighs. I thought I'd never fit into these jeans again. Thank you, Thigh Master.
I recommend it and use it.
My wife made a point of saying how my mother-in-law even bought a Thigh Master at the time. I don't know. I don't know anyone else who actually bought one of those things, but that funded Suzanne Summers' career for quite some time until, of course, Step by Step came around. And then I think she...
Oh, I forgot about that show.
Yeah. So the only thing I really think about that I really noticed that was just kind of neat was just the amount that the brain looked at the camera in this one. I think it's way over the amount that he usually does. He broke the fourth wall quite a bit. Reminded me quite a bit of like Laurel and Hardy. Like Oliver Hardy does that quite a bit, and this was just almost every other line that Pinky said, he would just look right at the camera like, is it just me, folks? Give me a break. But are there any other moments that you guys thought were particularly funny or just of note in this one, Nathan?
I thought that Brain should have just worn his robot suit, and then he could have maybe been president.
That's right, because at the very end, he comes out, and the whole plan gets foiled because they just see he's a mouse. And yeah, you're right, Nathan. If he just used that robot suit one more time, oh well. Kelly, anything that comes to mind for you?
I just kept wanting to call him John Bryan because that is it Win or Lose or whichever one where he is in the suit and playing the game show. The guy kept calling him Brian.
Yes.
So I just kept getting that in my head and wanted to call him Brian.
So if he wanted to win, he really should have gone back to that episode and said, "Okay, we need to call myself John Bryan and use the suit." And there you go.
It's another election year, so stand and give a cheer for a presidential candidate that's new. He's the rodent that we need, and he's here to take the lead for Mom and apple pie, so what do?
Yeah. We put the right mouse into the White House, 'cause he's qualified, my friend, to rule the world. He'll cut the tax, he'll save the trees, he'll reduce the price of cheese. He's a fighting son of a gun, and when it all is said and done, they'll agree in both the Senate and the House
that the best man for the job
is a mouse. A brain is a terrible thing to waste.
This has been a political announcement for the campaign to put a brain in the White House.
Of course, before we move on, this actually turned into a real life thing, basically in 1996. Because in 1996, in the Warner Brothers store, they had something called Put a Brain in the White House. And they sold bumper stickers and campaign pins and T-shirts. And oh my gosh, so many different things. We have the magnetic bumper sticker, or at least it's at my parents' house still, of the Put a Brain in the White House. And we talked to Maurice LaMarche about that for a little bit for some reason. I remember mentioning it. But do you remember seeing any of these things around originally, Kelly? I know there wasn't really a Warner Brothers store in your area, but did you ever see these?
There was one in Atlanta, but it was my mom never wanted to take us into Atlanta because it's big and scary and traffic. And so there was one in one mall, and I went to it once, I think with probably my sister. And I vaguely remember some Animaniacs stuff, but not the Put a Brain in the White House.
Oh.
And the store didn't stay there for very long.
Yeah, that was just kind of a bummer. I mean, that was just what happened. I think if I remember it right, I think AOL bought out Warner Brothers or vice versa. Anyway, the way that these companies, get restructured and everything, they say, that's not making enough money, shut that down. And so, yeah, it all went away. But Nathan, I mean, you and I used to go there like almost every weekend, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was great.
Yeah, we have our like major stops every weekend. We go after church, and then parents would drop us off at the Tucson Mall. We get our food in the food court, hit Warner Brothers store, the Disney store, and
like KB Toys.
KB Toys, yeah. Maybe a book, maybe one of the like Walden Books or B. Dalton, and there you go.
I miss Walden Books.
Yeah, all these places that are no longer around. So,
that was my happy place.
Well, let's go ahead and get into a special announcement, folks, because speaking of putting a brain in the White House, I went ahead and designed recently an actual put a brain in the White House decal because I missed it. I kind of like back before the 2016 election, I said, you know what, I want to make sure that people can, have these and put them on their cars and everything. And quite frankly, I took one and just slapped it on my laptop. And so I have a decal that says "Put a brain in the White House," and you can find it yourself if you are so inclined. It's on eBay. I think it's on there. I think it's $5 or something like that. Free shipping. Ooh! But we had a contest on the Animanicast Twitter, and basically, if you retweeted the post and followed us on Twitter, then you would be in the running. And we had quite a few entries. And so let's go ahead and go to the announcer.
Woo!
Who's gonna pull the winner out of the announcer's, I don't know, hat? I don't know what he's gonna do. After the announcer for the winner.
Animanicast announcer with the results of an Animanicast Twitter contest. Listeners were asked to retweet a special tweet sent out this week, and the winner will be selected at random. That's right, I have all the people that retweeted it on my magical wheel. And now it's time to pick the winner. So here we go. Spin the wheel. There it goes. Oh, the giant wheel is spinning. And it's about to land on a winner. It is... Oh, it's Kaylee, who is at KLonero on Twitter. Congratulations, Kaylee. Thank you for ringing the bell there, Bert. Hey, that's enough. And now it's back to the studio with the rest of the show.
I didn't win.
Sorry, Nathan, you were not eligible. I know you retweeted it, but you were not eligible to win.
Well, I say it's rigged or something. I don't know. I'm upset. I'm not
in this case, it is rigged. In this case, it is rigged against you. Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, Nathan, but congratulations to our winner. Let's go ahead and move on to our second segment. It is called Smell Ya Later. And Smell Ya Later was written by Earl Kress and Tom Ruger, and it was directed by Rich Ahrens and Leonard Robinson. Nathan, tell us what happens here in Smell Ya Later.
So we have a Slappy and Skippy cartoon. We have so Skippy is trying to steal some nuts from a tree or something, and there's two dogs in the yard, one named Stink Bomb and the other one named Bumpo, which is the grandson of Stink Bomb. And it's kind of like a similar kind of relationship as Skippy and Slappy, their grandson and or something, Aunt Slappy.
That's a great. She must be a great aunt. Yeah, she has to be, right? Whatever.
But yeah, it's basically like the role model of this little, and like teaching the little kid how to be, funny in a cartoon.
Why, Bumpo, that's one of those horrible, vicious tree squirrels. Meanest creatures on the planet Earth, and a basset hound's natural-born enemy.
Oh.
It's our sworn duty to chase 'em, catch 'em, and shake 'em like rag dolls. Ha!
Why?
I don't know. It's what we do.
So they steal nuts and play havoc on Stink Bomb while Bumpo is trying to learn how to be a dog or something. So it doesn't go well for Stink Bomb because everything he tries to do backfires on him, and Slappy gets all the nuts, I guess. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, eventually he gets really stinky, right? He gets flushed down the toilet and then goes into the sewer, and eventually at the very end becomes incredibly stinky. Throughout the whole episode, Bumpo keeps asking Grandpa Stinky if he could be if he can sniff him.
Those squirrels won't get away this time, Grandpa. And you know why? 'Cause you're a smarty every day.
Thank you, Bumpo.
You're welcome, Grandpa. May I sniff you now?
No.
Okay.
And of course, by the time he finally says, "Fine, sniff me," he's incredibly, really, really stinky.
Well, apparently he's as never been not as stinky. You know, he's never smelled better. Apparently.
Yeah. Well, they showed the origin.
I mean, there was, the origin of when he got hit by all these skunks or something. I guess that made him stink terribly, and he got a good washing from the toilet, I guess.
Oh, sure. Maybe it improved his smell, perhaps. I don't know. Although he was I think, in my opinion, I think he just got newly stinky right there. I think because there was 40 years of that skunk thing to go away. But by the way, that was really cool. I really like that animation of when he's in the skunk cave and just how it just blasts out like a stinky explosion. I thought it looked really cool.
Gotcha.
Guess again.
He hasn't smelled the same since.
You know, Luke Ruger. We have another one of the Ruger brothers doing the voice of Bumpo, by the way, just for the record. Mm-hmm. And Jonathan Winters did the voice of Stink Bomb. Jonathan Winters, of course, for all you kids out there, he's kind of like Robin Williams, but the original Robin Williams, I guess you could say. You have any memories of Jonathan Winters, either one of you?
Wasn't he on Mork and Mindy?
He was. He played the son of Mork and Mindy. He cracked out of a giant egg, and that was in the later seasons of Mork and Mindy when it wasn't that great. I don't remember it being that funny, but Jonathan Winters was in Mork and Mindy. But yeah, he was a huge an idol to Robin Williams. I mean, Robin Williams really looked up to him and his improv style, his ability to go into different characters, things like that. So Jonathan Winters, was a very funny guy. Nathan, any particular? Do you remember him at all in anything?
No, I'm looking at a picture of him now. He doesn't look familiar at all. So.
I can't believe it. That's so sad. Well, you got to check out some of his stuff. It's good. It's funny stuff, Nathan. You won't be sad to check it out. YouTube, go. Okay. Well, I really don't have much to say about this one other than I thought the story is pretty straightforward, but the animation looked really cool. I really like the animation. Anything that you guys really liked about this or anything like that?
No. I just thought the whole thing was kind of gross.
Gross in what? Oh, just because of all the stinkiness or what?
Yeah. It just, I don't know. It just wasn't appealing to me.
Skippy, I'm dying of starvation here. You got my hazelnuts or what?
Uh-huh. Bleh.
Sorry, but I'm on a low saliva diet.
Nathan, what about you?
I didn't find it particularly funny at any scenes or anything. Just kind of was there.
Okay. At one point, I thought it was kind of neat that Skippy said, "Stink Bomb go down the hole like Baby Plucky."
I did like that.
Yeah. So it was Skippy doing an impression of course, Baby Plucky, and as we all know, Nathan Ruger voiced both characters. So that was kind of neat in a meta sort of way. I mean, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
they couldn't afford Plucky, I guess.
Yeah, sure. There's too many actors in that thing. Well, too many characters. Whatever. I don't know how that works. Anyway, I don't know. Again, it's so straightforward. It's just, it's like almost every other kind of Slappy Squirrel thing that we've seen. But I just like the animation in this one. I thought the movement of them, the expression of their faces, I really like that. I think that was all. It almost looked just as great as classic Warner Brothers, animation, stuff like that, of sneaking, like they're sneaking throughout the yard on their tiptoes and stuff. And for the life of me, I can't remember exactly what that's from, but I've seen that in some sort of Looney Tunes cartoon. It just looked good. I didn't necessarily like the cartoon that much, but the movement of the characters looked really cool. That's all I can really say about it.
Is Bumpo supposed to be something? I didn't understand the name. Like, I understand Stink Bomb.
Yeah, Bumpo? I don't know. Hey Siri, Google Bumpo.
Searching Google for Bumpo.
Okay, let's find out what Bumpo means. There was a guy named Nathaniel Bumpo who was called Nathaniel Natey Bumpo. He's the protagonist of James Fenimore Cooper's pentology of novels known as the Leatherstocking Tales. And so, there's a Bumpo character. But that's Bumpo spelled with 2 P's. Connection? Read the book.
Definitely.
Maybe. He looks like Davy Crockett. I don't know. Anyway, what about Stink Bomb?
His name was spelled wrong on his doghouse in one scene.
Yeah, it said Stink Bomb or something like that, or I don't know. This is just what happens when you have, different countries. I think lettering the stuff. If I were asked to to letter, do the exact Japanese characters, I would totally make mistakes myself, I think. So I think that's just what happens in that. But whatever. Anyway. Well, let's go ahead and move on to our last little bits of filler right here. And this next one is basically a commercial. It's a parody of the Bo Knows commercials from the 90s with Bo Jackson. And the Nike commercial was, Bo Knows football, Bo Knows baseball. Except this time, it's Chicken Boo.
Boo knows baseball. How does Boo know? Boo wears spikies. Just boo it.
And this episode, this little segment, I suppose you could say, it's written by Paul Dini. Paul Dini? Really? That's cool. Paul Dini is one of the ex-Tiny Toon Adventures writers, but he also wrote for Batman the Animated Series. So
I think he created Harley Quinn.
He did, I believe. Yeah. So Paul Dini is he's a huge writer. So that's kind of cool for him to just do a short little segment like this. Anyway, the Chicken Boo, who we didn't mention, apparently became president at the very end of the first one today with Meet John Brain. By the way, Chicken Boo, did you notice how he just goes by Chicken Boo at the end of that Pinky the Brain one? Mr. Boo is going up in the polls, and he just calls himself Chicken Boo. So people didn't even really realize he was a chicken, even though he called himself Chicken Boo. But whatever.
And another thing about that poll, he was up the entire time, Chicken Boo.
That's true.
There's a newspaper that says Brain is up in the polls, but I guess I figured it out. I was like, obviously not all polls. There's this poll, Chicken Boo's been up the entire time.
These polls are so hard to believe, though. Anyway.
Right. Yeah, I can't believe polls.
Kelly, do you remember the Bo Knows things at all when you were a kid?
Yes. Yeah, those commercials.
Yeah. Nathan, any memory of all?
Nope.
No memory of Bo Jackson? Nothing like that? None? They had Bo Jackson, what was it? Bo Jackson Football or something like that for the Nintendo. I remember that was really popular. I don't know. I remember it was just like a huge, Bo Jackson was one of those people that kids would look up to just because he did play. He was able to play more than one sport. I don't think he played them all professionally. Again, I'm not a sports person. I don't know, but I guess he did. I think he was in the MLB and NFL at the same time, at least at one point. Anyway, Bo Jackson. This is all parody of it, parody of the commercials, and of course at the end it doesn't say just do it, it says just boo it. What do you guys think? Any particular things that was cute or just eh?
It was cute.
Yeah,
I got the reference.
I always thought he was bad at all the sports he was playing, but
yeah,
it's understandable.
Yeah. Well, he just has feathers. You can't catch a ball when you can't. How do you put feather? How do you put a baseball mitt on a feather? I mean, come on, this is not going to work. So I got to hand it to Chicken Boo. I mean, he's trying. He can do it, or he can boo it. Well, whatever. Well, let's go ahead and get to the last piece of filler, and it is called, of course, the return of the Wheel of Morality.
It's that time again.
To have elective surgery?
To change our underwear? No, it's time to learn the day's lesson.
And the moral of today's story is, do not back up. Severe tire damage. And both Wacko and Dot think that the Wheel of Morality must be broken. And I think it must be, because it hasn't given us a moral in quite some time at this point.
Yeah. It's turned into a car, apparently.
Yeah, apparently this is just, I don't know. Not much to say about this Wheel of Morality one, other than, I don't know. Severe Tire Damage is an album by They Might Be Giants. You should check it out if you're interested in that. One of my favorite bands. Anyway, any thoughts on Wheel of Morality, guys, in general?
It was a good 10 seconds. Or whatever.
I just think I do admire the fact that they just get more and more abstract. You know, they're not, they started with a Wheel of Morality at the very beginning with, we're going to give you a lesson at the end of this episode. And they just have you know, for lack of a better term, the wheel has come off the car, the Wheel of Morality. I think we've gone through all the segments. So you know what that means. It's time for our water tower rating. Well, what do you guys think? Out of 5 water towers, how many water towers would you give today's episode? Nathan, what about you?
I'll do 2.5.
2.5. Why is that?
No reason. No, it seemed like a lot of filler. There was no overall theme to the episode. The Pinky and the Brain episode was good, but not my favorite, and I didn't really enjoy the Slappy Squirrel one all that much at all. So,
okay, Kelly, what about you?
I will give it 2. I just didn't find it funny overall, and I mean, even the brain episode, I enjoyed it, but it wasn't one of the top ones. But yeah, I really didn't like the Slappy segment.
Okay, I am going to give this one 3, and I think it's while it's not necessarily the funniest episode, I think it might have the most consistent animation quality of any of the episodes we've seen for quite some time, and it's pretty decent for the most part. There's not any segments that I necessarily hate. I don't know. I like the Slappy Squirrel. I didn't get disgusted by the Slappy Squirrel one like Kelly did. I don't know. I didn't think it was enormously funny, but I wasn't disgusted by it. So, well, that's just me. So, what do you guys think? You can always share your thoughts with us on Twitter, on Facebook, or you can send us an email over at animanicast@retrozap.com, and you just might hear your thoughts on the show. Well, let's go ahead and get to our poll results from last week. And last week, we asked everybody, which of these Rita and Runt cartoons is your favorite? Hashtag Animaniacs, hashtag Animanicast poll. And, well, we had 3 choices. We had Kiki's Kitten, Icebreakers, and Up a Tree. Kiki's Kitten, of course, was the one with the gorilla, calling her, basically treating Rita like a baby. Icebreakers had Ross Perot once again. And Up a Tree was, well, they went to a cornfield and Rita got chased up a tree and spent the cartoon up there. Icebreakers came in 3rd place with 13%. Up a Tree came in 2nd with 39, but Kiki's Kitten won this poll. It was 48%. Well, guys, what do you think? Which of those 3 was your favorite? Kelly?
I like Kiki's kitten. I thought it was really cute, and I got the reference to Coco the gorilla, so I thought that was a neat nod.
And it had gorillas putting on the Ritz and everything there too.
Yeah.
I like Kiki's kitten as well. Nathan, what about you?
Yeah, I'm in agreement. Kiki's kitten.
Yeah,
just the best of the three for sure.
It had the best gags. It's totally different than most other Rita and Runt cartoons. I mean, there was barely any singing in it. It was mostly
barely any Runt.
Yeah, it's true. Runt was in the alley the entire time, and it was mostly just Rita getting hurt the entire time. So, but it was just funny. I just like that Rita and Runt. That's probably my favorite Rita and Runt cartoon we've seen so far, actually. Well, maybe Les Miserables might be above it just for the songs and everything, but I don't know. It was just a funny cartoon. So let's go ahead and get to our poll for this week. Nathan, what do you got?
So the question is, what is the favorite Pinky and the Brain cartoon, round like 4 or something like that?
Something. There's been a lot of them.
Yeah, exactly. The choices are Brain Meets Brawn, the Help Pinky formula, and Meet John Brain. So Brain Meets Brawn is when he takes the Dr. Jekyll to Mr. Hyde formula. The Help Pinky formula is some sort of other formula that he gives that makes everyone really tiny. And then the Meet John Brain is today's presidential episode.
Okay, so go ahead and head over to twitter.com/Animanicast or simply search on Twitter for #Animanicast poll, and you can make your voice heard. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get straight on over to some contact information. Nathan, where can people get in contact with you?
You can find me on Twitter, folks, at DjangoFT. That's me.
And Kelly, what about you?
I'm on Twitter at Yoda Princess, YODAPRNCSS, or email Kelly at BigShinyRobot.com.
All right, and as for us, you can get in contact with us on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, and of course, you could send us an email at animanicast@retrozap.com. And speaking of retrozap.com, hey, head on over there. There's a lot of fantastic articles every single day, and almost every day they have a brand new podcast episode out on the RetroZap feed. So head over to iTunes, subscribe to the RetroZap feed, and you will get every single RetroZap podcast delivered straight to your device, including this one, the Animanicast. Well, I guess that's going to be it for today's episode, so we will see you next week. And Kelly, you're going to be excited. You may not have been excited for this week's Slappy Squirrel, but something tells me you might like next week's.
Is it Woodstock Slappy?
I believe so. So until then, we will see you next week. And for Nathan and Kelly, this is Joey saying good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
This podcast is not endorsed by Warner Brothers or Amblin Entertainment and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Animaniacs, the Warner Brothers logo, all names, pictures, and sounds of the Animaniacs characters or any other Animaniacs-related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Warner Brothers, Amblin Entertainment, or their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of the Animanicast unless otherwise indicated.
Pinky, are you pondering what I'm pondering?
I think so, Brain, but this time you put the trousers on the chimp.
This year, there is a presidential candidate who's different from the rest. He believes in education, and if elected, will personally teach each of us a lesson. He believes in free speech, as long as he's the one doing the talking. He believes in controlled government spending and promises to spend your tax dollars as if they were his own. If you want a president with strong convictions, pick the candidate who spent the most time behind bars. Put the right mouse in the White House. Vote for Brain. This has been a political announcement for the campaign to put a brain in the White House.